What's going on, guys? Stefan, S&E's Garage. In today's video, we are going to be installing the cylinder head that we just got finished rebuilding in our 2011 Hyundai Elantra. Alright guys, so a lot of what we are going to be doing is outside for the time being. Right now it's dark out, so we're only going to get a little bit done. We're just going to get a head start on this. That way tomorrow we can really go ahead and get cranking here. So when we removed this head, if you watched the video when we removed it, you'll know that we removed it with the intake manifold on the head. It just makes it easier. It's kind of a pain in the butt to put the intake on after the head's on. So we're going to go ahead and install the cylinder head. So what we have here is a brand new intake manifold gasket that came with our Pro head gasket kit. Comes with all the gaskets you're going to need to do the job. So again, I'll leave one of them in the video description below. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and flip this head around so that the intake side is facing up the way we need it to, like so. Okay, and now we're going to go ahead and take our brand new intake manifold gasket, slide it on like so. So now I'm just going to go ahead, we're going to bring this manifold into the garage really quick. We're going to clean it up real nice. There's some oil in that throttle body I want to get rid of, and then we'll go ahead and slap it on and throw the bolts in for it. So for some reason there's a really good amount of oil in this throttle body. I'm not sure if that happened when the timing belt snapped. It, created a bunch of vacuum and sucked oil up into the intake through the bad valve guide seals that we replaced. So we're just going to wipe that out, and I want to open this throttle plate and just kind of take a good look in there with a flashlight and just see what we're up against in here. We just want to make sure there's no debris, and inside of there actually looks relatively clean. So all we're going to do now is just take, again, paper towel, and we're going to spray some brake cleaner on it. Okay, and we're just going to wipe in here as best we can. Let's go ahead, open that throttle plate up, and we'll clean. Basically, just give this a quick throttle body service while we are in here. You can just see some of that gunk flowing out. And that realistically is exactly what we want. So just clean this out best we can here. Does not need to be perfect, but we do want it relatively clean. Just let that drain a little bit. Okay, so that's going to be good enough for me right now. So let's go ahead and bring this bad guy outside. Actually, you know what? Before we bring it outside, let's face the ports here to us. And let's clean this surface off here. Make sure that's nice and clean. So again, just some paper towels here. Spray them down real good. Again, we're really truly not trying to reinvent the wheel here. We just want this to be relatively clean so that we have a nice clean seating and mating surface. So Jesus, everything's falling. Okay, and whatever we can't get with a paper towel, we're just gonna come over here and grab a Scotch-Brite pad, or I might actually already have one cut to size somewhere in here. Yep, here we go. Just gonna take one of these. Again, I'm gonna spray it a little bit. And this will get off any of those harder deposits that are fighting you a little bit. Okay, and then we'll follow that up with a quick Clorox wipe here. And I am quite happy with the results. So let's go ahead, get this outside, and get it installed on the cylinder head. So like we showed you, we already went ahead and installed our gasket here. This is a one-way gasket, so just make sure you have it on the right way. This thicker end looks like it needs to be over on this side, which appears to be right, because if it was over on that side, it would be hitting this cam sensor. So let's go ahead, especially now that it's nice and clean, and drop this on here. And now we are going to go ahead and grab all of the hardware. And thread it in. Okay, there's going to be a couple here behind the fuel rail that are going to try to fight you a little bit, so just be patient. Like this one here is quite annoying. Okay, so let me go ahead really quickly and run these down. I'm trying to remember what goes in this corner. I'm gonna have to look. It looks like there's some sort of a bracket or something that goes there. So, like I said, for the time being, let's just go ahead and run these down. Okay. And let's get these started here. Tighten these down off camera and we'll be right back with you. Okay guys, now that we got our intake on, we're gonna go ahead and reinstall this thermostat housing that has all the hoses here for our heater core and for our throttle body here. So there is a new gasket for this. Again, this is going to come in our Felpro head gasket kit that is located right back here. So let's just go ahead here and open this up and look for the gasket with the little pee-pee on it. It's got a little penis here. There's something wrong with me. And we're just going to go ahead and set it into place like so. Okay. And now we will go ahead and grab this bad boy here, slide it on, and we have to try to catch this gasket here with this bolt like we just did. Okay, and then just get it started. Now we're going to do as much assembly of this head, minus putting the cams in, as we can while the head is out of the car. You probably can't see anything I'm doing right now. There you go. So, go ahead again. Let's grab our impact here and just send this home. See, we're right here. And we are right here. Okay, and now we can even take our little coolant hoses here and put them back onto this. These are for the intake manifold. So let's go get some pliers and slap them back on. All right. Let's go ahead. Secure these clamps here. And I think we're going to call it a night now. It's probably about 9 o'clock. I just wanted to get some of this done. So, when we start off tomorrow, or whenever the next day I can work on this thing is, because it's going to be raining pretty hard tomorrow, our next step is going to be to go ahead and clean the WD-40 that we sprayed on the deck of this cylinder block off. And we're going to go ahead, prep this surface, and we're going to wipe the oil off of the bottom of the head down. And then we have to actually, there's oil and coolant that gets down into these threads when you pull the head. If you leave that in there, you can actually crack the block or blow the threads out of it, because that fluid you can't compress. It has nowhere to go, and it'll find a way out. So we have to blow the oil and or coolant out of those threads with a compressor, compressed air, whatever you have, canned air. And then we can go ahead and get the head on, and then we can really get going here and get this thing assembled and back together. Alright guys, so we quite literally, it's probably about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night, and we have about a half hour to spare here before I need to get to sleep. So I hate not getting things done, and I'm actually having surgery on my mouth tomorrow, so I'm going to be out of commission for a little bit. So I wanted to come out here and install this cylinder head. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my blowgun here, and we have our compressor right there, and we're going to blow out all of the spots that have threads in them for the cylinder head. We got to get all the oil, coolant, whatever's in there out. That way we don't ruin the block or the threads, because the fluid that's in there will blow the threads out when you try to torque them down. So again, I'm just going to put a rag over this, blow it out. You can see all the black oil that came out. We're going to do the same here. Okay, we're going to do it here. Okay, we're going to do it here. 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 There. Ooh, that got me right in the face. There. There. And there. So now that we got it all out, we'll just, again, very quickly. Okay, and I think I might have gotten you guys with that one a little bit too. I am absolutely covered. So let me go. Yeah, look at the paper towels. Let me clean up my face and my hands. Okay, and then we will go ahead and start cleaning the deck off. Alright, so to clean the deck of the block off, we're just going to take a paper towel here. And before I use any solvents or any, let me fix you a little bit, or any brake cleaner or anything like that, we're just going to give it a good wipe with this paper towel. Now, in a previous video, we already went ahead and cleaned the surface of this off, so there is no more gasket material or anything on it, and it is ready for its new head gasket. Everywhere that the head gasket sits is clean. So now that we got all of the major contaminants off, we're going to take a clean paper towel here. Okay, we're going to take a couple of them actually, like this, fold them up. We're going to spray it with brake cleaner. Now this is going to strip any oil residue that is left on the deck of the block. That way we have a nice clean surface here for our head gasket. Now this vehicle uses what is known as a MLS, or a multi-layered steel head gasket, and they are quite a bit less forgiving than a composite. So you do just want to make sure that you do the best prep that you possibly can. Your job is only going to be as good as the prep work. So here is our head gasket, and like I said, it is an MLS, or a multi-layered steel gasket. So we're just going to go ahead and set it on the dowels. We just want to make sure that we get it in the right spot. You'll see here it says up, so we're going to go ahead and set that right where it says up. Okay, and that's there. Now let's go ahead, and we're going to use this same paper towel, give our cylinder head a quick wipe down, and then we'll go ahead and drop her on. So earlier in this video we did go ahead and set the intake manifold up on this head, because that is how we are in fact going to be putting it in. So we just have it tilted up like this, and again, let's just unfold this paper towel, give us a nice clean spot here. Just flip you back a little bit, make sure you can see what we're doing. Yep. Now we're just gonna again go ahead and spray this down, and we're just gonna wipe any debris, residue, what have you, off of the head. Okay, now we're gonna go ahead and sit this head onto the cylinder block. We do just want to make sure that we line the dowels up, and we don't want to slide this around too much. We kind of just want to drop it right on, because you could damage the head gasket, and we don't want that. And do our best here to drop it on in one shot. Okay, and we got that head seated on there. So now let's go ahead and grab our new head bolts, which is back here. It's going to be Molly, part number GS33667, and we are going to need very little bit of engine oil, so let me show you what we're doing here. So what we have here is just a little squirt bottle that I went ahead and filled with some oil. We're going to need that for the threads on the head bolts, and for the bottom half of the washers for the head bolts. So let's just go ahead and open these up. Now the two on the driver's side, basically the back of the engine, closest to the transmission, are going to be the thicker ones, and then the thinner ones get used everywhere else. So let's find the thicker ones first with their washers, and we're going to use them first. And what they tell you to do is to thread these with oil, or to coat the threads with a little bit of engine oil before you put them in. So like we said, we blew those holes out because we didn't want these to get locked with oil. So you're just going to do a very thin coat like that. Okay, and then they want a little bit on top of the bolts too, like that. So we'll just go ahead, we're going to start all of these by hand. Alright guys, so these new cylinder head bolts are going to be torqued in a very specific sequence. So the M10, which is the smaller ones, are going to be torqued to an additional, or to a initial torque of between 16.6 and 19 foot-pounds. So we're just going to go ahead and do 19, and then 60 to 65 degrees, and then another 60 and 65 degrees. The bigger ones are going to go to between 20 and 23 foot-pounds, so we'll do 23 and then also 60 to 65 twice. So we're going to do this in 3 separate steps here, and this right here is going to be our sequence. It's very important that you follow that because these are torque to yield. They stretch. That's why they are one-time use. So let's go ahead. We have our tech angle torque wrench here. Set her up. Like I said, we're going to do the large ones mostly first. So or the small ones rather. So let's go ahead and set this to, like I said, we're going to do 19 foot-pounds. I like to make them tighter than looser. So I always go to the tighter end of the spec here. Just go ahead and set this up and we'll be back with you. Alright guys, we got this set to 19 foot-pounds, so let's go ahead and torque number 1 down. Okay, now we're going to go ahead to number 2. Okay, here is number 3. Okay, number 4 should be this guy right here. Okay, there's 19, that's number 4. Here's number 5. I'll just double check this one because I didn't like the way something felt there. Okay, number 5. This one is number 6 here. Go ahead and get this to sit on there first. Okay, number 7 is going to be our M12 here. That is this guy, so that one we have to raise the torque to 23 foot-pounds. Okay. Okay, that's number 7. Number 8 is going to be all the way at the end here. So let's go back to 19 foot-pounds for that. Number 9, we're going to go back up to 23. Okay, and now number 10 is back to 19. And then from here on out, we're just doing degrees, so we don't have to keep switching back and forth. Okay, so now we're going to do 2 more passes at 65 degrees. Alright guys, so we're going to do our first pass now at 65 degrees. So we'll start here on this one. This is going to be number 1. And we'll just start going. Okay, there's 65 degrees for number 1. Let's go here to number 2. Okay, there's 65 degrees number 2. Here's number 3. Okay, here is number 4. That's number 5. Here is number 6. Okay, number 7's our big boy here. Okay, number 8 is back here. Okay, here's number 9. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and get number 10, which is front and to our left. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the last step. I'll just do that off camera really quick. Alright, let's go ahead. I'm going to do the last step off camera. Alright, so very quickly, we decided to go ahead and install the exhaust manifold. So here's the old gasket. And we're just going to go ahead, come back here, and line it up with the new gasket. And that's going to be this guy here. So this is scrap now. We're going to go ahead and set this gasket here right on the cylinder head, like so. Now you'll remember we did clean that surface off when we had the head off. Now we're just going to go ahead, slide the exhaust manifold on, not let it fall, and now we will go get our bolts, which I conveniently placed here in the heat shield. I'm just going to start them by hand, and then we'll go ahead and run them in the rest of the way. Alright, we went ahead and started all these by hand, so now we're just going to go ahead and tighten them in a crisscross pattern. And in several passes here. You don't got to murder these, just snug them up. Now we can just very quickly go ahead and install our oxygen sensor and the exhaust heat shield. So let's go ahead and grab them, get them in. I don't know if it's worth mentioning or not. Previously I called this an oxygen sensor. Technically it is not. It is an AFR sensor, air fuel ratio. They are a little bit different, but they both basically do the same thing. So that's just a little technical lingo for you there. But what we're going to go ahead and do is take this guy here. Woo, and we're going to thread it in to the exhaust manifold. Okay, and then we're going to take our oxygen sensor socket that I was like 90% sure that I grabbed. Here it is. And we will go ahead and tighten it up. Okay, same deal. You don't need to kill this. Just snug it up. Okay, let's go grab our heat shield. Okay, so you're going to take your AFR sensor plug, route it through the heat shield, and then route the shield past your dipstick tube, and then thread it in. Now, one thing that's worth mentioning here, before I put the cylinder head on, I made sure that none of my pistons are at top dead center, meaning they're all at about the middle of their stroke. So what that's going to do for us is when we install our cams and check our valve clearances, those valves are not going to hit those pistons because I purposely set the pistons down. I should have mentioned that earlier, but make sure you have your pistons, all 4 of them. You do not want them on top dead center, you want them at mid-stroke. Just figured I'd say that. So let's go ahead and just tighten these. Okay, and then this just gets routed into its little clip here. And then while we're here, we'll just plug this in. I'm just going to go ahead and make my rounds around the engine really quick and just go plug some sensors that I think are ready to get plugged in. Like I can plug this fuel injector rail in. I can go ahead and get this bracket for this harness, you know, installed and where it needs to be up here. I can just kind of start going around this engine and starting to do the final assembly on actually a lot of stuff. So we'll just go ahead and make our way through this really quick and we'll be back with you. All right, guys, so we got way further than we wanted to tonight. I kind of just got in my groove and, you know, we just went with it. So we basically have everything connected here. We have our coil pack back connected. We have all of our wire harness back connected. We have our throttle cable connected. So all really that's left to do now, we even did our coolant hoses in the back and everything. All the coolant hoses, vacuum hoses that are here that we could connect are connected. Even the fuel line. So what we're going to do next time we get out here is we're going to go ahead and install that intake cam. We're just going to do the intake cam by itself. I'm going to check the valve clearances on number 1 and number 3. Those are the ones that got the new valves. If they are okay, I'm just going to slam the rest in because this engine was running fine prior to this happening. So there's no reason that it should have any issues. With that being said, let's wrap it up for tonight. It's starting to rain. I don't want to get any water into an open engine. So let's just shut the hood, call it a night, and hopefully the next time we're recording, it's to button it up and get it running. Alright guys, so yesterday I had some pretty severe oral surgery done, so don't mind the way I'm talking here, but we're probably not going to do much talking today. I'm going to show you how to install the cams, and I'm going to show you how to check your valve lash, and then from there we're going to go ahead and go on a time lapse and just finish putting everything together. We're going to put the valve cover on, cam sprocket. I'll show you how to push in the cam seal, and then we're going to go ahead and go on a time lapse and do the timing belt, only because I have 2 videos on timing belts. That means I have a short and I have a full-length video, so if you need them, I'll drop them in the video description below. And also, don't mind the noise, we got a whole crew out here doing some work. So let's go ahead, get our cams, clean them up, lube them up, throw them in. Alright guys, so we just went ahead and very quickly pulled all the intake cam caps out, and what we're going to go ahead and do now is install our buckets, the ones that we marked. Number 1, obviously this is cylinder number 1, so we're going to start with 1, work our way to 8 on the intake side. It's very important that you oil these up, and you want to make sure that they spin freely in the bore. So I'm going to go ahead and do 1 on camera like this, and then we'll just go to a time lapse here. So again, you're just going to oil this guy up real good. You're going to oil this bore up, slide it in, and once it's in, you just want to make sure that it spins freely, which it does. So let's go ahead on a time lapse now, and we'll go ahead and put the rest of these in. So what we're going to do now is the same thing we did before we put our cylinder head bolts in. We're going to go ahead and blow out the holes that these cam caps live in, just to make sure that we do not hydrolock the threads and blow them out, because that would not be good. So let's just go ahead and blow them out, and then we'll go ahead and set our cam in. Going to wipe off that old oil that came out, and then we're going to go ahead and put some fresh oil with our little squirt bottle here in the cam bearings. Okay, let's go get our cam and sit it in. Almost forgot, we got to put this timing chain in. It ain't going to fit with the cam in first, so I'm just going to tilt it up and get this chain on and just get it where it needs to be, and then we'll time it later. We're going to go ahead and just throw the exhaust cam in while we're here. So I'm going to go ahead again, put all these buckets in, oil these cam caps up, blow the holes out, and basically the same thing here. I'm just going to do it off camera. You saw me do it on the intake. Alright guys, so I had to kind of manipulate these cams to get everything to line up the way they want these timing marks to be. So I have to tighten them down in a way that I don't necessarily like to do it. But that's the way the service manual wants to do it. So these are all going to get tightened to 10 foot-pounds. And camshafts are very brittle. So you're going to want to start at the cam lobes that are pushing down on valves. That's where you're going to want to start your torque. Because if you start the torque on the other side, you're going to twist the cam and it's going to crack. So on this exhaust cam, number 4 is attempting to activate the valves, and so is number 2. So we're going to start with number 4, then we're going to go to number 2, and then we'll work our way out. Put you in a time lapse and we'll go ahead and start tightening them. Alrighty guys, we got our cams in. So what we're just going to do now is double check our timing marks. You're going to make one of your painted links line up with that slash on the phaser. And then this painted link there is going to line up with that painted dot on the intake cam, which is right there. So now that we know our engine is in time, we can go ahead and install the small little chain tensioner that goes here and pull the pin. I have those bolts over here somewhere. Actually, they are right there, and the tensioner is in the trunk. And then we can go ahead and install our cam seal and get this valve cover ready to go on. Alright guys, so what we have here is a cam seal installer. I already just went ahead and threaded the stud into the cam. Now there's a bucket here that's going to hug the seal that goes in, and then you have a 19mm nut here that's going to drive the seal in. So I'm going to put you on the tripod here. We're going to spray that down with some silicone spray over there, and then we're going to go ahead and install this cam seal. Alright, so now that we got that started, we can go ahead and get our cup and drive the seal in. Like so. We're going to go ahead and put a crescent wrench here on our cam, and we're going to torque this down to 86 foot-pounds. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, like I said earlier, we set our pistons so that they were down at about mid-stroke. So I'm just going to put a wrench on this cam here, and we're going to spin the cams around, make sure everything's, you know, working smoothly, and then we're going to check those valve clearances on intake 1 and intake 3. Alright guys, I'm just going to, like I said, rotate this around, spin it. Everything actually feels really, really good here. So let's go ahead and get intake cam, or intake valve number 1 ready for a valve lash check. So I'm going to leave it right about there, and then we're going to grab our feeler gauges. I got them right here. I'm just going to look in my shop manual real quick. We're going to look at the spec, and then we're going to check it. So we want these to be between 0.17 millimeters and 0.23 millimeters. So we have one thick and one thin. The thin one should fit, which it does, which tells me they're not too tight. and the thick one should not, and on that one it did not, and on this one it did not. So number 1 is good. Let's go ahead and check number 3 now. I'm going to get that in a position where we can, which should be right about there. Okay, so this one should fit, which it does on both, and then this one should not, which it does not. Okay, so our 1 and 3 valve clearances are good. Those are the valves we replaced, so we're good there. Alright guys, so what we're going to do now is we're going to prep this head for the valve cover gasket. Now when you're doing a valve cover gasket on one of these engines, it is paramount to remove these half moon seals. There's going to be 3 of them. One here on the number 1 side of the intake cam. There's one on the number 4 side of the intake cam, and on the number 4 side of the exhaust cam. So you're just going to pull them up with a pair of pliers, and you're going to want to clean all of the RTV out of the center of it here. And then you're going to want to clean the surface of the head. We did that when it was in the parts washer, but I am just going to go ahead and wipe it down. And then we're going to use some ultra black RTV. We're going to go ahead and put it here, and then we're going to put some across the top of it on all 3 of these. That way when we put our valve cover gasket on, it's not going to leak in between these cracks. So let's go ahead off camera. I'm just going to clean that all up, then we'll be back. Alright guys, so we got our RTV under all 3 of the half moons, and then we put some on the corners here of this cam cap here that has the front cam seal in it. We're going to go ahead and get our valve cover. We prepped that off camera where we put new spark plug tube seals and a valve cover gasket on it. So we're just going to go ahead and drop it on. We'll tighten all the bolts down. Okay, let's go get all the bolts, snug them down. Alright guys, so we got our valve cover on, we got our ignition coil wires in. Now I do have new coils and plugs coming for this. I also have an oil change coming for it. Now just for the sake of getting it running, the oil that's in it is clean. If you look, it's actually very clean. So what I usually like to do in cases like this that I had an engine completely apart, I'll leave the oil that's in it and I'll run it for 15-20 minutes, and then I'll drain it out. That way if I, any debris or dirt that was left in the cylinder head will get flushed out down into the pan and we can drain it out. So that's the way we're going to do it. I'm going to go ahead, I got to charge the GoPro for a little bit, but then I'm going to throw you on a time lapse and we're going to blow this timing belt in. We already have the cam here set to top dead center. And then this will be a real easy quick 1 2 3 timing belt because it's already halfway apart. The alternator is not in the way, and a lot of this is already obviously apart. So we'll slap the belt in, put in our new tensioner, our new idler, and fire it up. All right guys, our GoPro was a little bit more dead than I had thought, so I had to keep going on this. We got the old timing belt out. Well, it was broken, so that was already out, but we got everything apart. And now we're just making sure everything's in time. We got our bottom marks in, and I'm just going to show you a quick little trick that I use here for the top mark. Is I'll just stick like a zip tie or something in here, and it should line up with the notch on the head, which it does. So we're going to go ahead and slap the new belt on. Again, I have a full video on a timing belt replacement on one of these engines, so if you need it, it's going to be in the video description below. Alright guys, so we got our timing belt roughly in here. I didn't put the timing covers on. I just real quick I ran the crank pulley on with the belt guide so it doesn't fly off, and we have no coolant in it. So this is literally just going to be, let's fire it off, see if it runs. If it runs, I can go ahead and finish putting it back together the rest of the way. So it is worth mentioning that I did rotate the engine twice by hand. And we got us a runner. Yeah, buddy. Alright guys, so we're just waiting on our alternator and our bolt for the alternator to come in so that we can finish installing everything here. What I went ahead and did is I filled the cooling system with my airlift. Basically it vacuum fills the cooling system. Now we just have it sitting on a pressure tester here. We're just wanting to make sure that head to gasket is sealing correctly, and we want to check all of our coolant hoses for leaks. We had to adjust a couple of clamps here, but nothing crazy. So now we're just gonna go ahead. Like I said, we're just kind of in a holding pattern now. I can get my timing covers in, so maybe I'll do that. And next time we're recording, we'll be driving this thing. All right guys, so here we are in the Elantra. Let's go ahead, fire it up. You'll see she fires right up. And right now we have no warning lights on this dashboard. So we're sitting in here with some nice cold air conditioning, by the way, which is awesome, considering that this is the first time we've actually heard this thing run. That's huge. That's one less thing we have to worry about fixing. So let's go take it for a ride, run it through the gears. And immediately in my stone driveway, I'm noticing that I'm not hearing any suspension noise. So for the first time in a while, a car that we picked up does not need some degree of suspension work, because usually when we get these things, we find, you know, loose suspension components, whether that be end links or tie rods or something like that. But everything here seems pretty good. I do have a slight steering wheel vibration. I'm guessing that's probably going to be some flat spots on the tires from this thing sitting with its blown timing belt for as long as it did. It's got good power, drives nice. Overall, we are very happy with the result here. So our next couple of videos on this, we're going to be doing some improvements to it. We do have spark plugs and wires coming for it, so we are going to be doing a tune-up. I do have a video on doing a tune-up on one of these, so I'm not sure if I'm going to do a complete write-up on that, because I already have one. We'll probably just get it on video. Among some other things here, we got to clean this interior out. But we are actually going to be doing an LED conversion for these projector headlights. One of our channel sponsors, LasFit LED Auto Lighting, is sending us out a kit. So we're going to go ahead and bring this thing into the mid-2020s with some nice LED headlights. We're going to restore these headlights, make them nice and shiny. And then we have our guy, Dave Pinto, that does PDR, or paintless dent removal. He's going to be coming out, and we're gonna clean up that driver's side fender just to make this thing look perfect, because we are going to try to get top dollar for this car. I'm going to be asking $4,500 for it. Once we're done cleaning it up and making it look really nice on the inside and both the outside, I think it's going to show really nice. And high side of Kelly Blue Book is right around 46 or 47, so I figure 45 should be a nice good starting point. And I think this thing plays the part. So we're also gonna register this one and insure it, and drive it around for like a week or two. I want to make sure everything we did to this engine is good. We want to get a good inspection sticker on it, and from there we will be ready to go, and this thing will be ready for its new owner. So please like, share, and subscribe if this is something that you're interested in, or if this build or revival, I guess you could call it, interests you. Like I said, like, share, and subscribe. We got plenty more where this came from, especially now that our SNE's 2.0, SNE's Garage 2.0 headquarters is right around the corner from being finished. We're going to have a lot more exciting stuff coming. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.